Hello and welcome back, everybody, to part two of Lynne McTaggart on the Weird World of Knowing. With this episode, we are taking a deeper dive into the look at the power of intention, the power of 8 groups, and what Lynne is planning for her communities as she moves forward on this journey of global experimentation and the world at whole. So, Lynne, welcome back. Please do tell us what this actually means for you moving forward, and for us, that's the power of 8 groups that have become sort of part of our family.
Well, first of all, Rachel, just what you were talking about with the group, and that it is a family. It becomes a family. It becomes sometimes and oftentimes closer than your family. Here's the issue. I studied, I was trying to find out whether or not Darwin was right some years ago with my book, The Bond. Was it true? Were we meant to be individualistic and competitive the way we've been told? We are at our at our basis, human beings are supposed to be highly competitive. And I found the exact opposite. We need community. We are communal beings. We need community more than we need to breathe or eat. One of the most fundamental things human beings have is the need to belong. And that's something we don't get very often anymore. I mean, I just read some statistics showing that 1 in 4 Americans over 65 have no social contact at all. Them and their TV, that's it. 1 in 3 Americans report they're very lonely, and something like over 50% or more have 3 or fewer friends.
Mm.
So, and of course, that is mirrored over here in the UK where we are and everywhere else in the West. And that is probably one of the biggest crises we have. So that is why one reason why these groups are so powerful is they fulfill a huge fundamental need of the human spirit. I always wondered, why do power beat groups heal people so quickly? Well, there's loads of things. Number one, there is intention. It works and it supersizes in a group. Number two, there is the group effect, this need to belong that's so profound. Number three, there is altruism. I mean, one of the great things about a power of 8 group is you are intending most of the time for someone else. And that, as I've seen over and over again and has been proved in the science, when you focus on other people, you live a longer, happier, healthier life. Altruism and compassion for others is extraordinarily healing to the sender. And that was the shocking thing for me about the power of 8 groups and the intention groups, is getting off of yourself was the main point of it. And doing the sending had a mirror effect that was healing the healers. And then finally, there is this oneness that you talked about. We know we're all part of a giant energy field. That is what I wrote about in my book, The Field. We are all connected on the quantum level, but we don't experience life like that. We experience life in solitary, in the sense of a solitary state. We experience life as alone. Yeah. And so groups moves us into the field, essentially. We are the field. People ask me all the time, how do I enter the field? And I always say, well, you are the field. You are already part of the field, but you don't experience the field. Well, in a power of 8 group, you do. You experience that divine oneness. So you asked me about healers. I started a course some years ago called Become a Better Healer with the Power of 8, because I had my own healing journey. And while I was doing it, I was astonished because I was working with really excellent alternative practitioners and some medical people, but mostly alternative practitioners. And I was shocked by their languaging, their thoughts and their words. They were saying things to me like, it's going to be a long and painful journey to get over this. And somebody else said, you're a shadow of your former self. Mm. And I had to finally laugh. I was taking notes over this. And luckily I am, I'm a stubborn person. I'm a very, I'm a natural disruptor and rebel. So as soon as somebody says you can't, I would say, I will. And so in these kinds of comments, I started laughing and I even said to some of them, do you really think that statement is going to be in any way healing for me? And so I started thinking these people all need a course in how powerful their thoughts and language are. And one great stick for you, there was a study recently of um, a group of patients given a placebo, all given a placebo, but by two different kinds of doctors. The first doctor said to them, this is going to work. This is going to heal you. We're going to get you better. The second doctor said to them, I don't know. This might work or it might not, but we'll give it a go. There was a 61% difference
Wow.
in terms of healing between the ones with the positive statement by their doctor and the ones with the negative statement. That in itself shows you that the thoughts and words of the healer, as well as the healee, are paramount. They're the drug, they're the medication. So that's why I started that. In terms of what's next, I look at what's going on in where I live in the UK, what's going on in America, what's happening all over the world. And I say to myself, this is the breakdown of this old paradigm, which all of us have been talking about for a long time. But also, we're seeing an acceleration of this and a complete lack of understanding or ability by those in charge to fix it or to do anything different. We need a completely new structure. We need a new way of operating together. And our technology at the moment is isolating us even more.
Yeah.
COVID isolated us even more. That is a dangerous, dangerous trend. So I started thinking, well, I need an army of change makers. And then I started realizing I have an army of change. I have tens of thousands of Power of Eight groups around the world. What if I gave them tools and brought them together? So I have been studying social movements and looking at what happened in Prague when the communists just peaceably went away. How did that happen? That we were in Prague this last autumn, and we were looking at Václav Havel and what his importance and his whole take on how this social movement got started, this peaceable revolution. How did it happen with India and Gandhi? How did he separate from the British, but also create a self-sustaining economy? And way they all did it was with small groups, bottom up stuff. And small groups starting in community. I mean, with Gandhi, it started with recognizing they needed micro industries, they needed spinning wheels. And with a spinning wheel, they could become independent and self sustaining. Now, I don't want to hand out spinning wheels.
Yeah.
I don't want people to leave the day job. But what we can do, there are many tools we can do for making interconnection from a ground up. And so, what I'm going to offer is, and I'm calling this the 8 revolution, is I'm going to be offering all our groups free tools to start creating this new type of myth where people are interconnecting using other ways of helping each other get out of all of the issues we have, from financial crises to difficulty in their community problems we have. I mean, here we have in the UK, you name it, we've got it. We have a corrupt police force. We have a corrupt government. We have a collapsing health service. What do we do about that? Well, imagine if we created small walk-in clinics of alternative practitioners who maybe gave a little bit of their time or created a kind of a unit where they could help together, and together they could create something or even give healing online. So there are all kinds of ideas like that where we can bring people together. The people out there in the world have so much skill. We have so much skill collectively, but any good social movement has started from organization, from ground up stuff, just like your Power of Eight group. So I'm going to be offering tools very shortly for people who sign up on my they'll sign up. There'll be information about it on my website, lynnmctaggart.com.
Fantastic. Well, absolutely. And this is something that we've been doing in our little area for the past 5 years. I started, energy work really does open you up to the field, and you can often have dreams and wake up with consistent dreams. If they don't go away, you really know you've got to do something with it. And mine was very much getting back into nature, even more so than I am already. And that led me to creating and growing. And I'm not a grower. I've never been out in the garden. My mum's the gardener. And I reached this stage of like, I need to be growing vegetables. I need to be growing herbs. So I started in my garden, and we back onto a little park, and we now look after the park. And we have a plot of land which is totally open. And we do this, we grow now for the community. And we've been doing this now for the past 5 years. And it's really opened our community in a very different way. Every season we'll hold a little party to celebrate and it is a tiny community, and it doesn't have to be large. And so what you're saying to me makes perfect sense. And we come together, and from these little parties that we have every season, so it might be, we started off with Halloween just after lockdown. So it was great because we were outside, the kids could dress up. We played games. The local police came and they joined in to such an extent that we even had a cops and robbers game where the police were tracking down one of the adults and giving the kids a breakdown of what they looked like. And the kids were all sort of really excited going around the park. So there are so many different ways, like you say, of bringing together. Not everybody's corrupt, but bringing everybody together in a way that actually does make sense and feels good. And there's that harmony. And, in the summer we have buckets out and we have water fights and really silly little things that bring real joy, but are very, very simple, and they don't cost a fortune. Those ways of bringing people together, along with
Oh,
all the healing and things that we do, is absolutely priceless.
absolutely. And there are ways for people to barter their services for people who need it. As you say, it starts with a little community, and it's important that it's not too big. You can create micro communities within a larger community, but there are ways to help each other financially where it's not just one person alone. There are ways I'm going to describe that have been used by the Japanese for many generations, that help each other as the year goes by, where everybody wins.
Mm.
There are ways of, as you say, sharing food, sharing services, but creating interconnection. And oftentimes it works, and it starts with something that needs doing,
Mm.
and what is called by the scientists a superordinate goal.
Mm.
So it's a goal that can only be achieved by the collective efforts of everyone involved. So there was a town, I think it was called Talesholt or something like that, in Wyoming, that was a real forgotten corner of America where they needed fresh water. Their water was terrible, and they couldn't get government funding for it. And also, they needed a community center. Again, they couldn't get government funding for it. So they decided to do sweat equity. They could get a certain amount of a small sum toward it if the members of the community did the digging and did the, laying of the pipes, et cetera, and the same with the community center. So they had, some members would bring the food every day, and some of the guys had volunteered to do the digging and the laying, et cetera. And it did two things. It brought Talesholt fresh water, but it also created a community that they never had. The same thing with the community center. When one older woman saw what was going on, she had extra acres of land. She donated it to the area so long as they would teach literacy in the community center and a few other things. And before you knew it, this was a vibrant, interconnected town. And that's what we're missing now. But that is the key. You start doing this kind of thing from the ground up, as you've seen, and you suddenly have a connected and interconnected community.
It's absolutely priceless. And Ali, what you say, when people get involved in their own community and they start to When we started out in the park and doing our little bit, there were some people that were probably, oh gosh, who do they think they are taking over the park and da 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 da. But we didn't take any notice of that, to be honest. And over the space of the 5 years that we've been there, other people then started to scrape round the edges of the path so that all the overgrown bits that the park keepers just do not have the time and the money to do anymore. People were coming out at the same time as our volunteers, and they were doing their own little bit. They weren't getting involved in what we were doing because they wanted their own autonomy of being able to look after something, but just be in the same space as us. But over time, that brought us all together. And we're having a chat about, oh, well, what you're doing there is absolutely great. Well done. And we now collect for the food bank just from our little area. And every month we put out leaflets round. And we then say, okay, next Friday we're going to be collecting for the food bank. And we've collected thousands and thousands of pounds worth of food over the past 3 years for our own little food bank. But not everybody can do that on our estate every single month. But if they feel that they are part of something else where they can contribute and they can put something out every other month, they feel really connected to this cause. And then they see that we're growing food and we're able to, extend that part of our journey to other people. It really is bringing us all together.
Oh,
The mental
absolutely.
aspects, it's absolutely priceless. So the intentions that I know I've been setting about, oh well, this is how I believe we should be moving forward, and are very personal intentions. And it's seeing it play out in a very open way in the field without having a very, very precise plan of how I think it should be, but being open enough to allow other people to come into it and create their own version of it has been even more beautiful than I could ever plan for. And I think that's what the field gives you when you allow yourself to tap into it and be open to it, create something even more wonderful than you could possibly plan on your own. Because as a collective, we're so much stronger, we're so much more intuitive. It's priceless.
Absolutely. And that is the beauty of a Power of Eight group is you're intending together. You have other things that other people can contribute to give you a sense of, a bigger plan. And as you say, many things happen that are better than you expected. I always tell people to be very precise in their intentions for numerous reasons, but that doesn't mean the universe doesn't reward us with more. And
No,
so you have to be open for even more. And you
absolutely.
don't even have to explicitly state that. But this is the beauty of it. I mean, I've seen Power of Eight groups. One of my favorite examples of how a Power of Eight group can help a community. I've had many who have done intentions for rainfall, for instance, in areas of drought, and they've actually quantified what happened. They've gone to their local government and had information about amount of rainfall before and after their intentions and found big changes afterward. But my favorite one about that was just a couple of years ago when there was big fires in the north of California. One of the members of the group had a house that was right in the line of the fire. So the group did an intention that there would be a dome over this woman's house. And that the fire would go around it. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. They also ended that the firemen would use her house as a sanctuary, while they were fighting the fire. So the fire literally went right around the house as though there had been a dome over it. There was no soot, which was really weird in the house. It was like the house was completely protected. And it got used by the firemen as a sanctuary while they were fighting the fire. So that is one of the extraordinary things when you combine this kind of new community, these new tools for a new world with intention, group intention work. It's extraordinarily powerful.
But it also is that sense of wonder, isn't it? It's that constant sense of wonder that no matter how much of this work that you do, you are constantly in wonder that actually, wow, that did work. Oh, wow, that did happen. Each story creates its own little miracle cause in a way, which I know that some people will find very, very difficult to grasp onto and to think, what on earth is it that you are really talking about, this intention stuff? Because, and I'm even talking about healers, Lee, because I've met you in person now twice, Lynn, and the first time that I met you, I knew about you, but I didn't know your work in depth at all. I knew that you did the Power of Eight, I knew you did intention work, and I thought, well, I do intention work. I do everything I do is about the power of intention. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. And I met you at Broughton Sanctuary for the Wyrd experience for the very first Science and Consciousness with Brenda Dunn. And you did a talk there, and then we did some of your intention work in the groups, and it was really beautiful and very, very powerful. And then as you started to do your talk, I realized actually the depth and through the research that you have done, not just in your own work, but actually when you look at Lynn's work, everybody, and actually go into the depth of how many, scientists she's investigated, how much knowledge that she's gained over the years, it is absolutely astounding, really, the depth that Lynn has gone into. So please do go and have a look and check out Lynn's work, because if you are especially a healer who is actually thinking, I do this sort of work anyway, I include all of this in what I do and I get these wonderful results. We do, and it's fantastic. But I'd set the power of intention for myself to go into more of a scientific realm of meeting people that would open me up more. And I found myself at a retreat with Lynn that I didn't even know I was going to be going on. I didn't even know really about Brenda Dunn from the Pears Lab. And I found myself in a room with all these scientists, Lynne McTaggart, thinking how I've managed to get here. And as an intuitive energy therapist, this is all really very weird. But towards the end of it, as I'm gaining all of this knowledge, I realized that I was actually receiving everything that I'd wanted and asked for in an even more beautiful way that I could ever have planned myself. And that came about because one of my practitioners in the States had said to me, I'd be going to this if I was near you. Is this anywhere near you? And he'd sent me the information. And that's how I ended up being on the course. Now, at the end of that, I dropped off some Quest 79 cards for you and Brian and Brenda and Jeff Dunn. And because this lady here, Karen Dark, is a very fine example, as are you, of the power of intention and what is possible with doing something from nothing. Because that's really what the power of intention is. It's really about when sometimes we're in this real crisis or we really don't know where to go, we reach for something that we wouldn't normally go for. We reach for that impossible of whether it's a prayer, whether it's an intention. And Karen Dark, who has done Quest 79, has just completed 7 continents in 9 bike rides. Now, when people are putting out that power of intention and creating something from nothing, but they really believe in what they're doing, they have this cause, they have this desire, they have this possibility that something might actually happen. That's when really strange, weird synchronicities start to fall into place. And we meet somebody, as I met Lynn, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I've heard about Lynn McTaggart, but I don't really know her work, and I've got your Power of Eight book. And then I find myself, oh, I've got to go on your year-long course, because this is exactly the type of work that I want to do. I want to be with people who want to do this sort of work every day, every week. And finding those people is sometimes very, very difficult. Because you don't always want to always be facilitating it yourself when you are a healer as well. You want to just be part of something that allows that to happen over the 12 months. And that's exactly what you've created for us. So I'm deeply grateful for my Power of Eight family, for everything that it's bringing to us and our extended families, because it is really deeply profound. But actually the journey that it has opened up for me to now be here with you, and I even found myself on your retreat back at Broughton Sanctuary in very strange circumstances. And literally on the Friday, and it was starting on the Monday, I didn't even know I was going to be there. One of our Power of Eight group couldn't go because of family circumstances, and she put our names into the pot, and my name came out. Now, when I gave you these cards for Quest 79, the very first time I met, you were all going out to dinner. And you very, very kindly said, come out to dinner with us. And what an honour to be asked to go out to dinner with you and your husband and Brenda and Jeff. But I'd just done a week full of energy work. My energy was literally sapped, and I had nothing left in the tank. And I just got this download saying, "Don't worry, you're going to meet them again." But I just went, "Oh, all right, great, that's great. If I can just say thank you, but no, thank you. Go off and enjoy yourself. I don't need to be there." But of course, when I've come back and I've said, "Oh, they very kindly offered for me to go out for dinner," people have been astounded. "You didn't go out for dinner with Lynne McTaggart?" Oh, no, I got this download that I was going to be there. And then on the Monday, I arrived at your retreat and you came and sat opposite me at the dinner table. And I sat there and thought, "Oh, well, that's why I didn't need to be there. I'm meant to be here instead."
Oh, great. And I should explain to everybody that was a week-long retreat or a 5-day retreat called Heal Your Past. And we're actually going back to Broughton first week of September. So we'll be running it again for anybody else who's in. I run that kind of retreat with my husband, Brian Hubbard, who is the author of a book called The Untrue Story of You, and has developed a way and developed a whole theory around how the past is essentially an unwanted guest that is always on your shoulder and driving your life until you deal with it. And we work together on ways to deal with it. And I use a technique essentially called retro intention to help with that. So, but yeah, I'm so thrilled. I've got to see you in 3 different circumstances, Rachel. And I'm thrilled also that the year-long course has helped you so much. And that is the hope. And that's what I've seen with many thousands of other people who have been on the course too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you are a healer, please do get on to Lynne's courses, because it drives you forward in ways that you can't possibly even imagine, which is the whole beauty of it. Don't try and imagine it. Be open to it and just see what happens when you start to do this work. And I can say that, having spent a week at Broughton on Lynne's retreat with Brian, when you're actually doing this work face to face in that type of environment, and Broughton Sanctuary really is a very sacred place. It opens people up with the nature that is there, with the whole feel of the place. It opens people up in a really profound way. I can't recommend it enough. So do get yourself booked on Lynne's courses and Lynne's retreats.
Well,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Lynne, for being here. An absolute pleasure to spend time with you yet again. I'm loving my journey of synchronicities of how this is all playing out. I'm not questioning why. I'm just cracking on and doing this. I have never even intended to put a podcast together, and yet here I am doing a podcast to celebrate other people, to celebrate the gifts that they are bringing, and a real joy that, Lynne, you came on here with me today. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much, Rachel. And I should say, if people want to find out more about me, it's lynnmctaggart.com. Check out my website. My Power of 8 Intention Masterclass is kicking off on February 4th. So it's coming up in a couple of weeks, less than a couple of weeks now. You can find out more about it on my website. Also, Broughton will be opening up the doors there for our September retreat sometime in February. And again, find it on my website, lynnmctaggart.com. We should also let you know that Broughton is actually a stately home. It's one of England's historic homes with 3,000 acres. And it was the runner-up for the location set for Downton Abbey. So that will give you an idea of the place.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Rachel. It's been a joy to be here with you.
Thank you very much, Lynne. Take care and see you soon, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
And thank you for listening to the very end. Please do give us a review, subscribe, and share with those you like and love. Next up, we have the intrepid explorer Karen Dark herself to tell us about all the preparation for 79 degrees by 79 degrees and the pole of possibility.